Jai Hind, and today we have with us Captain Gaurav Bajetia. He is ex-55 Gorkha Rifles, Frontier Forces. He has been a facilities leader. He was with one of the best known companies, that CBRE, which is a world leader in facilities management. And right now he's heading the workplace infrastructure for Urban Company, which is another very well known unicorn. Today we are going to discuss with him about the future and trends of facility management, workplace infra, and where the industry is going and how it opens a plethora of opportunities for service officers and other professionals also to be a part of this particular industry. So, welcome to the talk today, Gaurav.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for having me over.
So, मैं आपसे पहले एक बहुत broad सा सवाल पूछ लेता हूँ. Where do you see facility management, the workplace infrastructure industry in next 5 to 10 years? What are the biggest challenges and opportunities in your assessment?
So I'll just first take a step back on where this industry is. I think it's important to understand, what the pandemic. So this industry is loosely defined as pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. There was a infrastructure and facility management industry pre-pandemic, and post-pandemic this was the biggest disruption anybody ever saw. And to make people understand, basically all offices shut and everybody worked from home. So there was, for the first 1 year of the shutdown, there was a question that was put up and was being asked continuously and being debated, that are offices even needed? And if the answer was no, they are not needed, basically I would have lost my job or I would have had to search for some other job and this industry won't have existed. However, it's been 3 years since that first lockdown, and the changes that have come about in this industry post the return to work to office has been a clear indicator that this industry is here to stay. Organizations cannot work without offices. If you guys have been reading the papers, just yesterday, TCS has announced to its 9 lakh employees that by March, they have to come back to offices or there will be strict action taken against them. So the pandemic basically pushed a lot of work from home culture, pushed a lot of hybrid culture. Hybrid means that you work from home for a couple of days and you come to office for a couple of days. And then there was a pre-pandemic where you only work from office. A lot of organizations have adapted to this new world order where they have inculcated a hybrid model, which is giving a lot of flexibility to the staff, that they can choose to work from home when they want, but they also have to come to office, which means the office infrastructure is going to be continuously required. There is a significant acceptability in all organizations that they cannot work from fully remote models. And the problem there, I will just want to explain why it is, because the office is just not a building, chairs, desks, lights. The office is the space where people from different functions, same function, come together and collaborate. It is basically a place where the socializing of professionals happens. And that's where, ideas get discussed. That's where problems get solved. And at the end of the day, human beings are social animals. Like, we have to be in the presence of other and people to be able to work more smartly and give better outcomes. So that question has been put to rest, that the companies cannot operate without offices. So this function is going to stay. And in fact, it's become even more relevant because of the pandemic. Because in the pandemic, the organizations always looked at this function as a cost center, as only a support function. However, the pandemic was a war that nobody alive had ever seen. And the army that stood in the corporates in this war was this function. It was the facilities and the security teams that were there in offices, that were out there to help employees during the difficult COVID times, providing all sorts of support. because it required manpower, and these are the functions that control manpower. It required crisis response. It required decision making. It was war. Like everybody, I'm sure, remembers what happened in the second wave. So therefore, there was a significant, I'd say, mindset shift of organizations and leadership, that these functions are no more looked at as cost centers. They are looked as enablers to business. Business cannot operate without me. We have seats at the boardrooms. We are involved in a lot of strategic decision making of, just not infrastructure, even people, on how well-being of people. Like there's so much talk of, wellness for people, wellness for staff, and it is these functions that actually finally execute that wellness through good offices, through good culture, through engagement activities, through sports, through so many things. So I'd say, if there was ever a time for somebody to choose this career, this is the best time. There was no better time.
So coming back to what I'd asked you, where do you see the opportunities and challenges in next 5 to 10 years for specifically for workplace infrastructure?
Opportunity is significantly higher, sir. You're aware India is growing at the fastest pace in the world. And with India, specifically infrastructure, offices, the leasing in the last 2 years has been highest ever in India, which means people are building more offices. There are foreign companies coming into India, setting up offices. So there will be people who will be required to, run these offices. There is more work coming into India from foreign locations, and internal work being generated. And the offices and the infrastructure that this work will require has to be managed by people. So it is a significantly high opportunity at this point. Around challenges, I would say the challenges will always remain the same, some known and many unknown. The known challenges is there's going to be pressure on cost. Everybody looks at India as a country where work can be done at a low cost. And that's one of the reasons India gets so much of outsourced business. So therefore, it's the responsibility of, infra heads, facility heads to keep costs under control, be it manpower, infrastructure, operations. All these costs will have to be controlled. The other challenges is that we will also have to keep pace with what the global trends are. We are no more a third world country where we will accept low standards. कि इंडिया में तो ऐसा ही चलता है. We have to be up for the best practices that are done in the world, which means we have to upskill ourselves with that much speed, which means our designs of offices have to be the best in the world. All the new trends have to be accepted here at the same speed at Sydney. Like we are not in the age that we'll say कि यार ये चीज तो यूएस में 15 साल पहले थी, अब इंडिया में आई है. Like as a kid, I am used to hearing this. कि if you get a friend who's come from outside, oh this is तो, or a relative, ये तो हमारे वहाँ 15 साल से है, 10 साल से है. It's not acceptable anymore in India. Like if it's in US, it better be here also. So that upskilling, I would say, is significantly required, and the workplace heads are going to play a major role by being aware of what is happening in the world and being able to implement it with equal speed here.
Okay. So now, since you covered a lot of ground in your answer, I'll pick some points from there. So you said India is a growing economy, which is very true, and the quality of office spaces has to now start coming to world standards, because we are attracting a lot of well-educated talent, and also there's a lot of foreign, or so as to say, the MNCs which are setting up space. Now, would you be comfortable saying that facility management is going to be a very big opportunity in terms of employment, because of the size of the offices and the complexity of infra which needs to be maintained is
Yes,
continuously growing?
very, very much, sir. Last year, 2023, the leasing activity, and to put it in simpler words, the amount of offices that have been taken up by corporates has been the highest ever in India. The previous year, was the highest ever for that year. 2024 is expected to be the highest, to be even higher than last year. So what does this show? This shows that more offices are being built. Companies are leasing more to build offices. And these offices then eventually have to be managed by workplace leaders, by facility managers. They have to be built out. So there is project management required. There is leasing activity required. So yes, you know, the trends that and the numbers that we are aware of, which are showing, only go on to show that the opportunity is just getting bigger.
Now, you also made a mention of in one of the previous answers that we still offer a cost advantage to a lot of businesses. And after COVID, work from home did change the way we work, and if not completely back to office, there are organizations which are okay working with people in a hybrid mode to save on cost, give more work-life balance to their employees, and those kind of things. So what do you say that does this put extra pressure on the workplace infrastructure managers, because now probably seeing that hybrid can be done, companies would like to get more out of the same space available, maybe hire more manpower. So if you earlier could have a 100-seater office, and now I'm a business leader, I would see that I can engage 70% of my workforce in a hybrid mode. So I'll probably have a 170 people working from the same space. So are there these things happening, and are they throwing some extra challenges?
Yeah, no, very much, sir. This is like a very, very, highly debated and discussed topic of hybrid. So first, I'll come to just to give more clarity on you know the both the aspects of hybrid. One is the advantages of hybrid, and then the other is the disadvantage. The advantages are very clear, like you just mentioned. You can do more with less. You need lesser space. You need lesser people to manage that space, which means you save cost. The employees also don't have to travel. They're also happy. Allowing hybrid, allowing fully remote work is clearly a cost advantage to every organization. Some would say, if it's such a big advantage, why even have any other option? Sabko remote, let people work from home. I will not even need an office. An office expense is the third highest expense. Outgoing rentals is the third highest expense of any company. If this was such an important factor, there would be no offices existing. Post COVID, no office would have opened again. Every would still be in office. But last year has seen maximum people return back to office, companies leasing maximum real estate for setting up offices. Why? Because there is a very important factor that continuous hybrid and continuous work from home does not get the organization its desired outcome. The people do not connect with the culture and the mission of the organization. And I'll put it in very simple words for a Fauji's to relate. If you are an officer, you have to manage, you're a company commander, there are 100 people under your command, your unit is posted somewhere. If you are sitting in the base with your quartermaster, will you be able to command your company? So the company commander is always in the trenches, is always with the company physically. That's where the action is. That's where you interact with your troops. That's where you make strategies. That's where you manage everything. You cannot be sitting somewhere else and trying to solve a problem of somebody else. So therefore, there was, I think, and this debate is no more a debate. Like the outcome is there. Like everybody accepts that hybrid, and hybrid to an extent they accept, but permanent work from home does not work for most of the organizations. Organization wants their people back in offices so that they feel part of the company, their culture, they interact with people. Like office is just not a desk and a workstation. Like office is a place where you make friends, you have fun, you spend a lot of time, right? So yeah.
Right. So my question was, but let's say because there is an acceptance around the hybrid work culture, does it put extra pressure on the facilities or the workplace infra team? Because as a business owner, they would like to then maximize or increase the manpower with the same resource.
It does put pressure because especially in hybrid, you're not aware on how many people will come to office when, especially the hybrid that urban company follows. We do not mandate that these 3 days you have to come to office. It's up to the employee. So which means I will never exactly know how many people will come into office. So again, then the smartness in your data analytics has to be built in through your access control reports. You actually see the trends of how many people coming in. And generally, these numbers speak for themselves. They give you a trend. This is the average. Monday is a day where slightly lesser people will come. Friday, lesser people come because they're closer to weekends. Midweek, more people will come. So you plan accordingly. So there's a lot of, data driven decision making that you do, which added the complexity to our expectation. But yes, the hybrid adds a lot of challenges because how many people will come to office you don't know, which means you will never know exactly how much space I will need, how many services, how many plates food do I have to order. So there is a possibility of wastage also.
Yeah. So now instead of an officer mess, you're running a club where you have to kind of uh, have a fluid situation that how many officers will turn up in the dinner is more
Yes,
based on your historical data rather than you knowing the exact number of
exactly.
dining member strength.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right. Thank you so much for your time on this, Captain Bajeta. I hope that with all the discussions we have done, officers who are looking to have a career in the facilities management, workplace infra, would be better informed and accordingly be able to handle these interactions better when they are looking for opportunities. Thank you
It'll
so
all
much.
I just also want to add in case there's somebody seeing this video is whenever you go into an interview and perhaps your first interview, your first job post the forge. So a lot of questions will be asked around you've never done this before. So it's very important for officers to be able to confidently correlate what they've done in the forge and what they are required to do now. You might not know specifics. Nobody expects you to know the rentals, the per square feet cost and everything, but they expect you to know the principles. They expect you to know. They expect from you that you will be able to upskill yourself very very quickly and understand the dynamics and the expectations, and every company has a different dynamic and different expectation.
Right. So that was a good advice that if one is able to understand what workplace infra does and draw some parallels from what you have already been doing, you do have a lot of similar experience. The principles remain same, and now getting into the nitty-gritties and start delivering should not take too much of time, and the learning curve can be shortened and accordingly conveyed to the interviewer in an interview.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, Gaurav. That was very insightful. Grateful.